Welcome back to Torah in 10. I'm so excited to be here with you again. What's the life-changing idea from Rabbi Sacks this week? We should never feel anger, but there are times when we should show it. People sometimes need that shock to help them change their lives. My Jewish education, my Jewish knowledge, the little that I had growing up came from two places, both in the form of entertainment. Every year, sometime in April, I would read the TV guide. Remember that? In hoping of seeing the time slot for the Ten Commandments movie. My Passover education came from this movie, and actually, the more I learned about Passover, the more I enjoyed watching the movie, commenting on what's accurate and what's not. My kids love this game, and they're getting pretty good at it, at spotting the mistakes and what's accurate. I watch this movie every single year. I pretty much have memorized all the lines, but there are a few scenes that stand out. Ready for it? Who remembers this line? Those who cannot live by the law must die by the law. Remember, you know what I'm saying. In this week's Parsha, Moses is told by God to go down to his people. They've made a golden calf. Moses comes down from Mount Sinai with the tablets of the Ten Commandments in his hands, the holiest objects of all time. Seeing the Jewish people dancing around the golden calf, in his anger, he throws down the tablets, smashing them to pieces. Moses shows anger. There are two emotions that Maimonides says in the Mishnah Torah that we should try to eliminate totally. One is pride, and the other is anger. Someone who gets angry, we're told, is like someone who worships idols. It's not hard to see why. When we get angry, we act irrationally. Things that we say or do in anger are almost always destructive and cause us to regret it every time. But we see here that the greatest leader of all time, Moses, displays publicly his anger at the Jewish people, and yet Moses is not criticized for this act. Rabbi Sacks teaches us that the sages go even further. The last verse in the Torah says, "No other prophet has arisen in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, or in any of the mighty hand and awesome wonders Moses displayed in the sight of Israel." The phrase mighty hand, the sages are referring to the breaking of the tablets as being seen as one of the greatest acts of courage and leadership. What's going on here? If we're supposed to eliminate the trait of anger from our character, why is Moses being praised for it? Is anger always the wrong response when shown by a leader? Or is it necessary sometimes? In his Code of Jewish Law, Maimonides explains that we have to eliminate the trait of anger from our character. But he adds, if one wants to instill reverence in his children and family, or in public, if he is the head of a community and his desire is to show them his anger as to bring them back to the good, he should appear to be angry with them so as to criticize them. But he must inwardly remain calm, as if he were acting the part of an angry man. But in reality, he's not angry at all. According to Maimonides, the emotion of anger is always the wrong response. We may not be able to help feeling it, but we should know that while we feel it, we've lost control. And this is what makes anger so dangerous. It's said about one of the Rebbes of Lubavitch that whenever he felt angry, he would take down the Shulchan Aruch, which is the code of Jewish law, to see whether anger was permitted under the circumstances. By the time he had finished studying, his anger had dissipated. I think that's a great strategy. For those of us who have felt the out of control grip of anger, we have to work extra hard to retrain our brain with an alternative response. For some of us, this is our life's work. But neuroscience has been telling us for years, we can change our brains. With repeated action, We can rewire our brain and change our behavior. But can we rewire our feelings? And do we always need to do that? We learn from Moses, and Maimonides agrees, that there is a fundamental difference between feeling anger and showing it. Sometimes it's necessary for a parent, teacher, or leader to demonstrate anger, to look angry, even if you aren't. Rabbi Sacks teaches us that this is for shock effect, to wake someone up to change their behavior. We can now understand why Moses' act of breaking the tablets came from a place of love for a people who were going in the opposite direction of where they were meant to go. As parents, we know this lesson all too well. But can I say I've shown anger without feeling it? I'm not sure. We've all been there. When our 3-year-old runs onto the road without looking, our response is to yell and scream whatever we need to do to stop the child from doing something so dangerous again. I was trying to think of a time when I was on the receiving end of someone who I respect's anger. I don't want to go into the details, but I can tell you I was shaken up for sure, and I learned an important lesson, a lesson for all of us. When someone who clearly cares about us gets angry with us, not because they disagree with us, but because they see us doing something that could affect us negatively, it has the power to change us. Maimonides, commenting on Moses, teaches us that we should try to conquer feelings of anger. Count to 10, take some deep breaths, don't respond, walk away. We've all heard these strategies. I'll add one more. The reason our sages compare someone who gets angry to an idol worshiper is because at that moment of anger, it's as if God doesn't exist to that person. Because if God runs the world, then everything we go through is coming from God. And the person or the experience that caused our anger is just the messenger. So there's no need to shoot the messenger. This is an area we can all work on. Our sages say even when anger is justified, we must avoid it. There may be times when it's necessary to look as if we are angry, and that's what Moses did when he saw the Israelites worshiping the golden calf and he broke the tablets. Yet even then, says Maimonides, inwardly, he was calm. We are not Moses, but we can learn from his example. When we see someone or a group acting wrongly, we may have to show anger even if we don't feel it. People sometimes need that shock to change their lives. That's our internal work, perhaps our life's work to achieve this goal. But that is a life-changing idea we can all use. Please, if you like what you're hearing, subscribe to the channel and feel free to share it with anyone who you think would feel that this is meaningful. Thank you so much.